Oh my God. Thomas walked to the palace halls with the threatening letter hidden in his pocket. His mind worked quickly. He could not go directly to the king with this information. Not yet. He needed proof. Queen Dowager Eleanor was powerful. She had friends in high places. Without solid evidence, she could easily deny everything and make Princess Emma look like a liar. He needed a plan. Thomas found Marcus in the guard room. His fellow guard was drinking tea and looking tired from the long search. "Marcus, I need your help," Thomas said quietly. He closed the door behind him. "But you must promise to keep this secret." Marcus set down his teacup. "What is going on, Thomas?" Thomas showed him the letter. He told him everything Princess Emma had said. Marcus's eyes grew wide with shock. "Queen Eleanor?" Marcus whispered. "But why would she steal the tiara? She has her own jewels. She has everything she needs." "I don't know," Thomas admitted, "but we need to search her rooms. Quietly, without anyone knowing." Marcus shook his head. "That is dangerous, Thomas. If we are caught, we could lose our jobs. Or worse." "I know," Thomas said, "but a little girl is frightened. Someone threatened her. We took an oath to protect the royal family. That includes Princess Emma." Marcus thought for a long moment. Then he nodded. "All right, I will help you, but we must be very careful." They waited until late afternoon. Queen Eleanor always took tea in the garden at 4 o'clock. She never missed it. This gave them maybe 30 minutes to search her rooms. Thomas and Marcus walked casually toward Eleanor's chambers. They pretended to be doing their regular patrol. When they reached her door, Thomas looked up and down the hallway. Empty. "Keep watch," Thomas told Marcus. "Whistle if anyone comes." Thomas slipped inside Eleanor's rooms. They were decorated in deep purple and gold. Everything was perfect and tidy. Expensive paintings hung on the walls. Crystal vases sat on every table. The room smelled like roses and something else. Something sharp and chemical that Thomas could not identify. He moved quickly but carefully. He checked the dresser drawers. Nothing unusual. Just clothes and scarves and gloves. He looked under the bed. Nothing. He checked the closet. Only dresses and shoes. Where would she hide a tiara? Then Thomas remembered something. Most of the royal family members had personal safes in their rooms. They kept important documents and valuable items locked away. Eleanor would have one too. He scanned the room carefully. There, behind a large painting of a horse, he saw the edge of something metal. He moved the painting aside. A safe was built into the wall. It had a combination lock. Thomas's heart sank. He did not know the combination. He could not open it. He heard a low whistle from the hallway. Someone was coming. Thomas quickly put the painting back in place. He rushed to the door and slipped out just as a maid turned the corner with fresh linens. "Good afternoon, Captain," the maid said cheerfully. "Good afternoon," Thomas replied, trying to sound calm. His heart was pounding. Marcus and Thomas walked away quickly. When they were safely in the guardroom again, Thomas told Marcus about the safe. "We need to get into that safe," Thomas said. "The tiara must be in there." "But how?" Marcus asked. "We don't know the combination." Thomas thought hard. Then an idea came to him. "I know someone who might be able to help. Oliver, the old locksmith. He used to work at the palace. He installed most of the safes years ago. But he retired 5 years ago." Marcus said. "He lives in the village now." "Then I need to go to the village," Thomas decided. "Tonight, after my shift ends." That evening, Thomas changed out his uniform and rode his horse to the small village near the palace. He found Oliver's cottage at the edge of town. Smoke rose from the chimney. Thomas knocked on the door. An old man with white hair and kind eyes opened the door. "Captain Thomas, what brings you here?" "Oliver, I need your help," Thomas said. "It's urgent and confidential." Oliver invited him inside. Thomas explained the situation carefully. He told him about the missing tiara, the frightened princess, and the safe in Eleanor's room. Oliver listened quietly. When Thomas finished, the old man sighed deeply. "I installed that safe 15 years ago," Oliver said, "when the old king was still alive. Eleanor insisted on having the most secure safe in the palace. Do you remember the combination? Thomas asked hopefully. Oliver shook his head. No, only Eleanor knows it. But, he paused, thinking, I do know something that might help. Eleanor is not very creative with her combinations. When I installed it, she told me she would use numbers that meant something to her. Her birthday, maybe, or an anniversary. Thomas felt disappointed. But I don't know her birthday, and I don't know what anniversaries would be important to her. I might be able to help with that, Oliver said. He walked to his bookshelf and pulled out an old journal. I kept records of all my work at the palace. Let me see. He flipped through the pages. Ah, here it is. I wrote down that she wanted to use the date. She married the old king. She said it was the happiest day of her life. He showed Thomas the date. December 8th, 1998. Thomas memorized the numbers. Thank you, Oliver. You may have just solved this mystery. Be careful, Captain, Oliver warned. Eleanor is not a woman to cross. If she took that tiara, she had a reason, and people with reasons can be dangerous. Thomas rode back to the palace through the dark night. His mind was full of questions. Tomorrow, he would try the combination. Tomorrow, he would find out the truth. But when he arrived back at the palace, chaos greeted him. Guards were running everywhere. Servants were crying. The king stood in the main hall, his face dark with anger. What happened? Thomas asked another guard. It's Princess Emma, the guard said, his voice shaking. She's missing. No one can find her anywhere in the palace. Thomas's blood turned to ice. The threatening letter. The consequences. Someone had taken Princess Emma, and Thomas knew exactly who was responsible. Thomas ran to the palace halls. His boots echoed loudly on the marble floors. He had to find Princess Emma. Every second counted. When did anyone last see her? Thomas asked the king. King William's hands shook. After lunch, she was in her room. The maid brought her food at 1 o'clock. Now it's 8 in the evening. She's been gone for 7 hours. Queen Catherine was crying. My baby? Where's my baby? We will find her, your majesty, Thomas promised. But inside, fear gripped his heart. He thought about the threatening letter. He thought about the safe in Eleanor's room. He thought about how dangerous this situation had become. Have you searched the entire palace? Thomas asked. Every room, Marcus said. Except what? The king demanded. Marcus looked uncomfortable. Except Queen Eleanor's private chambers. She refused to let us search. She said it was disrespectful. She became very angry when we asked. Thomas and the king exchanged looks. The king's jaw tightened. No one is above this search. King William said firmly, not when my daughter is missing. Captain Thomas, come with me. They marched to Queen Eleanor's rooms. The king knocked hard on the door. Eleanor, open this door immediately. After a long pause, the door opened. Queen Eleanor stood there in an elegant purple dress. Her face showed no emotion. Her eyes were cold and hard. William, what is the meaning of this noise? She asked calmly. Emma is missing, the king said. We are searching every room in the palace, including yours. Eleanor's mouth formed a thin line. That is unnecessary. The child is not in my rooms. I haven't seen her all day. Then you won't mind if we look, Thomas said, stepping forward. Eleanor's eyes turned to him like ice. You dare speak to me that way, guard? My job is to protect the royal family, Thomas replied. Princess Emma is part of that family. The king pushed past Eleanor. Thomas, search the rooms. Thomas moved quickly through Eleanor's chambers. He checked behind curtains, under furniture, in closets. No sign of Emma. His heart pounded as he approached the painting that hid the safe. What are you doing? Eleanor's voice was sharp behind him. Checking everywhere, Thomas said. He moved the painting aside, revealing the safe. Eleanor's face went white for just a moment. Then she recovered. That safe contains my personal belongings. Private documents. You have no right. I have every right when a child is missing, the king shouted. Open it, Eleanor. Now. I will not, Eleanor said coldly. "This is an invasion of my privacy." "Then I will have it broken open," the king declared. "Wait," Thomas said. He remembered Oliver's words. The combination. He had to try it. He stepped up to the safe. His fingers moved over the dial. 1208, 1998, the date Eleanor married the old king. Click. The safe door swung open. Everyone froze. Inside the safe, sparkling under the light, was Queen Catherine's tiara. The diamonds and sapphires glittered. But that wasn't all. There was also a folded piece of paper. Thomas reached in carefully and took both items. The tiara. Queen Catherine gasped, rushing forward. Thomas unfolded the paper. It was a letter, written in a child's handwriting. Princess Emma's handwriting. He read it aloud. "Dear Grandmother Eleanor, I am writing this letter because I am scared. Last night, I saw you take Mother's tiara from the jewelry room. I was getting water, and I saw you through the door. I know I should tell Father, but you have always been kind to me. I don't understand why you would take it. Please give it back. Mother is very sad. Everyone in the palace is upset. I don't want you to get in trouble, but I also don't want Mother to be sad anymore. Please, Grandmother, do the right thing. Love, Emma." Silence filled the room. King William turned to Eleanor. His face was red with anger. "You took the tiara. You threatened the child. And now she's missing. Where's my daughter, Eleanor?" Eleanor's cold mask finally cracked. Her lips trembled. I didn't threaten her. I would never hurt Emma." "Then explain this." Thomas held up the threatening letter he had received from Emma. Someone slipped this under her door. It warned her to stay silent. Eleanor looked at the letter. Confusion crossed her face. "I didn't write that. That's not my handwriting." Thomas looked closer. She was right. The handwriting was different from Eleanor's elegant script. Someone else had written the threat. "If you didn't write it, who did?" Thomas demanded. Eleanor sank into a chair. She suddenly looked old and tired. "I took the tiara. Yes, I admit it, but I had my reasons. Good reasons." She looked at Queen Catherine. "Your mother promised me that tiara years ago, before she died. She said I could have it when she passed. But then she gave it to you instead. It should have been mine. So you stole it?" Catherine said, her voice breaking. "Out of jealousy? Out of what was rightfully mine." Eleanor snapped. Then her voice softened. "But I never threatened Emma. When she slipped that letter under my door this morning, I felt ashamed. She called me grandmother. She trusted me. I was planning to return the tiara tonight. Secretly. I was going to put it back before anyone knew. But someone else knew," Thomas said slowly. His mind was working fast. "Someone else knew what you did. Someone who wanted to use it." Marcus burst into the room, breathing hard. "Captain Thomas, we found something. In the East Tower. There are fresh footprints in the dust. Someone has been using the old storage rooms." Thomas's heart raced. The East Tower. It had been closed for years. No one went there anymore. It was a perfect hiding place. "Take me there," Thomas commanded. "Now!" He turned to the king. "Your Majesty, gather every guard. We're going to the East Tower. If Emma is in this palace, that's where she is." The king nodded. "Marcus, alert everyone. I want 50 guards. We leave in 5 minutes." As they prepared to leave, Thomas looked back at Eleanor. She sat in her chair, looking broken and ashamed. But he couldn't think about her now. He had to focus on one thing: finding Princess Emma alive. Thomas led the group of guards through the dark palace corridors. They carried lanterns that cast dancing shadows on the walls. The East Tower was at the far end of the palace. It was old and forgotten. Most people avoided it because they said it was haunted. King William walked beside Thomas. His face was tight with worry. "If anything happens to Emma, we will find her, Your Majesty," Thomas said. But his own heart was filled with fear. They reached the heavy wooden door that led to the East Tower. It was covered in dust and cobwebs. But Thomas noticed something. The dust near the handle had been disturbed recently. Someone had opened this door. "Be ready," Thomas warned the other guards. We don't know what we'll find. He pushed the door open slowly. It creaked loudly. The sound echoed up the stone staircase. The air inside smelled old and damp. Their lanterns barely cut through the darkness. They climbed the stairs carefully. Each step groaned under their weight. Thomas's hand rested on his sword. Behind him, 20 guards followed. The king stayed close. At the top of the stairs was another door. Light came from under it. Someone was inside. Thomas could hear voices. He put his finger to his lips, signaling everyone to be quiet. He pressed his ear against the door and listened. "Let me go." That was Emma's voice. She was alive. "Be quiet, child," another voice said. Thomas's blood ran cold. He knew that voice. It was Margaret, Queen Eleanor's personal maid. The woman had worked at the palace for 10 years. She had always seemed kind and loyal. "Why are you doing this?" Emma cried. "I want my father. I want my mother. Because your grandmother ruined everything." Margaret's voice was full of anger. "Eleanor promised me that tiara. She said when she got it back, she would give it to me. It was worth enough money to change my life. I could leave this palace. I could be rich." But then she got weak. She felt guilty. She was going to return it. Thomas heard Emma sobbing. His hands formed fists. He looked at the king and nodded. It was time. "On 3, Thomas whispered. 1, 2, 3. Thomas kicked the door open. It crashed against the wall. Guards poured into the room with weapons drawn. The room was filled with old furniture covered in white sheets. In the corner, Princess Emma sat on the floor. Her hands were tied with rope. Her face was red from crying. Margaret stood over her, holding a small knife. "Stay back," Margaret shouted. Her hand shook. The knife glinted in the lantern light. "Put down the knife, Margaret," Thomas said calmly. He moved slowly into the room. "You don't want to hurt her." "Don't I?" Margaret laughed, but it sounded crazy. "I've worked in this palace for 10 years. 10 years of serving these people, cleaning their rooms, bringing their tea. And what do I have? Nothing. While they wear jewels and eat fancy food, I live in a tiny room with barely enough money to survive." "So you decided to steal," Thomas said, taking another small step forward. "I decided to take what should be mine." Margaret yelled. "Eleanor told me about the tiara. She said it was worth a fortune. She promised that when she got it back from Catherine, she would sell it and give me half. Finally, I could have something for myself. But then that stupid child had to see everything." Emma whimpered. "I'm sorry. I didn't mean to—" "Quiet," Margaret screamed. King William stepped forward. His voice was strong and commanding. "Margaret, look at me. You're holding a knife to my daughter, to a child. Whatever you thought you were doing, whatever you thought you deserved, this is wrong. You know it's wrong." Margaret's eyes filled with tears. The knife in her hand trembled. I just wanted a better life." By threatening an innocent child, Queen Catherine appeared in the doorway. Her voice was cold as ice. By stealing, by violence. "I wrote that threatening letter to Emma," Margaret confessed. Tears ran down her face. "I thought if I scared her, she would keep quiet about seeing Eleanor with the tiara. Then Eleanor could give me the tiara like she promised. But Emma wrote that letter to Eleanor instead. She begged her grandmother to return it. When I read it, I knew Eleanor would give it back. She was too weak, so I had to do something." "So you kidnapped my daughter," the king said. His voice shook with rage. "I panicked." Margaret cried. "I didn't know what else to do. I thought if I had Emma, I could trade her for the tiara. I could force Eleanor to give it to me. Then I would let Emma go and disappear. No one would find me." "But you would have been caught," Thomas said. He was only a few feet away now. "You cannot sell the royal tiara, Margaret. Everyone knows what it looks like. The moment you tried, you will be arrested." Margaret's face crumpled. She suddenly looked lost and confused. I didn't think. I just wanted—" "Drop the knife," Thomas said firmly. "It's over, Margaret. Don't make this worse." For a long moment, Margaret just stood there. The knife shook in her hand. Emma closed her eyes tight, too scared to move. Then, slowly, Margaret's hand opened. The knife clattered to the stone floor. Thomas rushed forward. 2 guards grabbed Margaret and pulled her away. Thomas knelt beside Emma and quickly untied the ropes around her wrists. "You're safe now, Princess," Thomas said gently. Emma threw her arms around his neck and sobbed. "I was so scared. She grabbed me when I was in the garden. She covered my mouth and brought me here." King William dropped to his knees beside them. "Emma, my precious Emma." He pulled his daughter into his arms and held her tight. Tears ran down his face. Queen Catherine rushed over and wrapped her arms around both of them. The royal family held each other and cried tears of relief. Thomas stood back and watched. His own eyes were wet. After all the danger, all the fear, Princess Emma was safe. That was all that mattered. Guards led Margaret away. She didn't fight. She just cried and kept saying, "I'm sorry, I'm sorry." As they left the tower, Emma looked back at Thomas. "Captain Thomas, thank you for saving me. You're my hero." Thomas smiled and bowed. "Just doing my job, Princess, just doing my job." But inside, his heart swelled with pride. He had kept his promise. He had protected the little princess. The nightmare was finally over. 3 days passed after Princess Emma was rescued from the East Tower. The palace slowly returned to normal, but everything felt different now. Thomas stood in the throne room. King William had called him there for an important meeting. The king sat on his throne with Queen Catherine. Beside him, Princess Emma sat between them, holding her mother's hand. She looked better now. The fear had left her eyes, replaced by her usual bright smile. Queen Eleanor stood to the side. She looked smaller than before. Her shoulders were bent. Her proud face was filled with shame. Margaret was not there. She had been taken to the palace prison. She would face trial for kidnapping and attempted theft. The punishment would be severe. "Captain Thomas," King William began. His voice echoed through the grand room. "You saved my daughter's life. You solved the mystery of the stolen tiara. You showed courage and wisdom. How can we ever repay you?" Thomas bowed low. "I need no reward, Your Majesty. I was simply doing my duty. Protecting the royal family is my honor and my purpose." "Nevertheless, you will be rewarded," the king said firmly. "From this day forward, you are promoted to Chief of Palace Security. You will receive double your current salary, and you will have a permanent place of honor in this palace." The other guards who stood along the walls began to clap. Thomas felt his face grow hot with embarrassment and pride. "Thank you, Your Majesty," he said. "I am humbled by your generosity." Princess Emma suddenly jumped up from her seat. She ran to Thomas and hugged his legs. "You're my hero, Captain Thomas. You saved me." Thomas knelt down and smiled at her. "You were very brave, Princess. The letter you wrote to your grandmother showed great courage and kindness." Emma's face grew serious. "I wanted to give grandmother a chance to do the right thing. I didn't want her to get in trouble." Everyone looked at Queen Eleanor. She stepped forward slowly. Her eyes were red from crying. "Emma," Eleanor said, her voice breaking, "you showed me more mercy than I deserved. You are a better person than I will ever be." She turned to King William and Queen Catherine. "I am ashamed of what I did. Jealousy poisoned my heart. I let my desire for that tiara blind me to what truly matters." Queen Catherine stood up. She walked to a table where the royal tiara sat on a velvet cushion. The diamonds and sapphires sparkled under the light. She picked it up carefully and looked at it for a long moment. "This tiara has caused so much pain," Catherine said softly. "My mother wore it. Her mother wore it before her. It represents generations of our family, but also represents greed and jealousy." She looked at Eleanor. "You say my mother promised it to you?" Eleanor nodded, tears streaming down her face. "Years ago, before she got sick, she told me it would be mine. She said I deserved something beautiful for being a good stepmother to William. But then, when she was dying, she changed her mind. She gave it to you instead. I felt betrayed." Catherine was quiet for a moment. Then she did something unexpected. She walked Eleanor and held out the tiara. "Take it," Catherine said. Everyone gasped. King William stood up. "Catherine, what are you doing?" Catherine looked at her husband with calm eyes. "My mother's memory doesn't live in this tiara. It lives in my heart, in Emma's heart, in the stories we tell about her kindness and love." She turned back to Eleanor. "If having this tiara will bring you peace, then take it. It's just metal and stones. Family is more important." Eleanor stared at the tiara. Her hands reached out, trembling. Then she stopped. Slowly, she pushed Catherine's hands back. "No," Eleanor whispered. "I don't want any more." When I held it in my hands, all I felt was guilt. When I hid it in my safe, all I felt was fear. That tiara brought me no joy, only pain. She looked at Princess Emma. But that child's letter, her kindness, that taught me something. She saw me take the tiara, but she still called me grandmother. She still loved me. That is worth more than all the jewels in the world. Emma ran to Eleanor and hugged her. "I still love you, grandmother, even though you made a mistake." Eleanor held Emma tight and sobbed. "I'm so sorry, dear child. I'm so very sorry." King William came down from his throne. He placed his hand on Eleanor's shoulder. "You made a terrible mistake, but you were honest in the end. You will remain part of this family, but you must earn back our trust." Eleanor nodded. "I will spend the rest of my life trying to make this right." Queen Catherine placed the tiara back on the velvet cushion. "This tiara will stay in the royal vault. Perhaps one day Emma will wear it, but only when she's ready, only when it means something good again." Thomas watched the royal family come together. He saw them forgive. He saw them heal. It reminded him why he loved his job. He wasn't just protecting crowns and jewels. He was protecting people. He was protecting love and family and second chances. That evening, Thomas walked through the palace gardens. The sun was setting, painting the sky orange and pink. He found Marcus sitting on a bench. "Big day," Marcus said with a smile. "Chief of Palace Security. That's quite a promotion." Thomas sat beside him. "I couldn't have done it without your help. You trusted me when I asked you to search Eleanor's rooms. You risked your job for a frightened little girl." Marcus shrugged. "That's what real guards do. We protect people, not just buildings." They sat in comfortable silence, watching the sunset. Inside the palace, Princess Emma sat in her mother's lap. The Queen read her a bedtime story. King William sat beside them, his arm around his wife. Queen Eleanor watched from the doorway, a small smile on her face. She was not welcome to join them yet, but she could see them. She could see the family she had almost destroyed, and she promised herself she would do better. The royal tiara sat locked in the vault, its jewels dark and quiet. It was just an object now, just metal and stones. The real treasure was upstairs. A family together, a child safe, trust slowly rebuilding. And standing guard outside, Captain Thomas kept watch. He would always keep watch, because that's what heroes do. They protect what matters most. The end.